Welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is a podcast for Happy Anniversary, originally airing February 6, 2001, written by David Greenwald. Cordelia, Wesley, and Gunn are lamenting their pathetically shabby new location for their investigation firms. The phones don't work, it smells, and there's one desk. It sucks. Meanwhile, Angel is getting woken up by the host singing the national anthem loudly in the Hyperion lobby. The host tells Angel that the world's going to end tomorrow because some milquetoast nerd sang in his bar, and his future was so intense that the host passed out. The problem is that the nerd left and the host doesn't know where to find him. Angel agrees to help because he doesn't have anything better to do, I guess. I don't know, they don't really say. Anyway, Virginia comes to the new Angel Investigations and offers Cordelia, Wesley, and Gunn with her very rich friend's family. They all jump at the chance. Meanwhile, we meet the milquetoast nerd, whose name, of course, is Gene. I'm going to spare you the details, mostly because I'm lazy, but also because I don't want to fall asleep during this recap. The gist is this. Gene is trying to develop an experiment to stop time. His girlfriend is super distant and awkward with him, and is reeled for the obvious aforementioned reasons that she wants to break up with him. Gene is heartbroken and decides the best way to deal with the situation is to freeze time at the moment of quote-unquote completion when she gives him a simply breakup vote. Then there's this whole other element with these pasty white demons that look vaguely like the Muppets, Stalder, and Waldorf, and they see Gene as their messiah, and he will bring up the end of the world with his time-stopping dealio, and the demons are super into that sort of thing. Anyway, Angel and the host find all this out and rush to stop Gene from stopping time. Back in the much more interesting episode we didn't get to watch, Wesley has solved the mystery. He has this big parlor room detective moment, and it turns out it was the aunt. This would be super shocking if we knew any of these characters before this scene. In the car, the host and Angel have a discussion about Angel's attitude issues. Angel admits he's in a bad place, but what did everyone expect with Wolfram and Hart after him? He says he fired his friends because they're safer without him. The host isn't so sure about that, thinking that they are better together. Anyway, as expected, Gene's stopping time goes terribly wrong. It begins to expand outside of his bedroom where he's boning his girlfriend, but Angel and the host stop it somehow. I honestly don't know how because I dozed off at this point. Then there's this horribly awkward wrap-up where Gene is super sorry that he almost destroyed the world, and he pinky swears that he won't do it again. And when he goes to get beers for them, Angel admits that maybe he was wrong to fire his friends. Cordelia, Wesley, and Gunn, though, are partying like they're dancing in a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, though. And then they get a client who walks in. When the client asks them which one of them is Angel, Wesley tells them it's really just a name. End of episode.
All by myself. Yeah, this was, I don't know, it's another filler episode.
Yes.
But I liked what we got in both the Cordelia, West, and Gunn storyline and what we got with Angel and the host. I just wasn't super invested in the Gene storyline, which was...
Because he's super boring.
I mean, it's what he's supposed to be.
Oh, they did a very good job making him boring. They did such a good job that I want to break up with him, and I just met him. It's actually, the way it's structured is the way that it should be structured, and I like how it is, where Gene doesn't really interact with Angel and the host at all until the end, and he has, they do a very good job of fleshing him out, that I completely believe everything that he's doing and all that. The problem is they do such a good job of fleshing out, and he is so boring that I just am not interested at all in anything that's going on with him.
Right. They're definitely trying to drum up sympathy for him in certain spots, like when he hears his girlfriend's going to break up with him.
In a scene that goes on entirely too long.
Right. But I just have no connection to him. To me, there really isn't anything that interesting about him. I mean, he's a physicist that's learning how to stop time, which seems really cool, but it's just so bland.
Well, it's a lot of science math speak that honestly I wasn't paying attention to, and it's just gobbledygook that is supposed to make it sound like there's some kind of science behind this. Right. I wouldn't be surprised if that's all just made up and there's nothing that Gene is talking about that actually has to do with stopping time. But even if it is, for me, it's just gobbledygook, and I don't understand what it's about. So, because I'm not that smart. But just like the idea of a relationship that isn't working, but one person wants to hold on to it. I get that. I understand that. People have been through that. You either know someone who's been through it or you've been through it yourself. The problem is that I just don't care, and I feel like whatever her name is has every right to break up with Jean, because, God, those scenes with them together are just so awkward.
It's so awkward, and I feel, I feel really bad because every scene that she's with him, she's always like, it was really good. And she's always like, this pitiful thing, like the food, it was really good. Like it's I'm so sorry in the tone of her voice.
She said everything she says is like she's apologizing for how terrible and boring he is. So what's her name? Her name's Denise, I want to say. The friend we're just going to call not Megan Mullally. But I don't actually know what the redhead girlfriend's name is. I think it's Denise. I'm too lazy to look it up because honestly, all she existed was just to be prettier than Jean and to be very sorry that she's in this relationship.
Yeah, it's Denise.
It's Denise? Okay.
Yeah.
And not Megan Mullally.
And not Megan Mullally. I'm actually unsure of the friend.
About not Megan Mullally. That's what we're going to call her.
Do they name her in the episode? I don't even think they do.
Probably at some point. I don't think they named the guy that's jealous of Jean, though.
Carpet mold guy.
Carpet mold. Is there anything really to talk about Jean?
Okay, well, I have a few things that I would want to mention.
Okay.
First, with Jean, the moments that I actually enjoyed with him were, well, actually, it was kind of a Denise moment whenever they were talking about, like, when I'm with him, I feel so alone. Like, they did get to hammer out that the energy suckingness of him.
No, they do a very good job in rounding him out and making me believe that he's a real character. But he's so uninteresting.
Right.
They do such a good job that it just becomes a boring episode.
The only time that he seems like in his element is when he is doing the scientific speak. Like, that's when he kind of breaks out of his shell a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He seems plausible, which is nice.
No, yeah, but it's an improvement over a lot of Case of the Week characters.
I had a question about, so the demons that are, the Luger demons
the one that look like the old guy Muppets is what?
Yeah. So they're worshiping him as this Messiah because he's the one that's going to bring about the destruction of the human race, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they fix his formula. Like, I don't understand how, if they could do it already, why don't the demons just do it?
I don't have a response for that because I don't know.
That was my only question with them.
Well, because they're not. I don't know. Because they're not human. But they're allowed to be, because they can't, I don't know. Whatever. Maybe
in their prophecy it has to be a human that brings about the human destruction. Whatever. It was just a little question I had, because it just popped into my head. But other than that, yeah, the Jean thing at the end was really awkward. Like, him being like, oh, geez, guys, I'm so sorry. He's even awkward, and he's like, y'all want beer?
Here's the problem with Jean, really. Is when he talks to people, I don't think he has finished one sentence in any scene. Even when, I don't like anything about it, but I was going to say, I do sort of like when he's trying to be sweet to Denise when they have the dinner because she says that he's just so distant. But even that he can't get through because he's like, oh, you look very, And he just trails off every sentence. Ever.
Right.
Which makes him seem awkward and plausible and like a real person, but the fact is that they have to dramatize him being boring, and it's just he's boring and it's there.
Right. Yeah, the dinner was fine and awkward. I got really wigged out with him freezing time while they.
But we don't have to. I don't want to talk about that. That's creepy, and
it was really creepy. There was some. Yeah, I just felt really disturbed by the sympathy bone altogether and everything.
When she says "I love you," and she's just like,
Uh-huh.
"Let's just get this over with."
Oh God, so bad.
All right, I don't want to talk about him anymore. I really don't.
All right.
Do you like Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn's thing, which I have mixed feelings about? So why don't we talk about that?
Sure. Again, I like getting to focus on the rest of the team. It feels a little like we've gotten a little bit more this week than last week, but it's still not that much.
No, it's not really actually that much more.
Right.
We get a beginning of the story, and we get the end of the story, but we don't get the middle.
I really liked the beginning of the story with them first getting started, kind of having little high hopes, but realizing that they're probably not going to succeed. I definitely liked getting Virginia again. Mm-hmm. I thought she worked the best at feeling like a real character when she's interacting with the rest of the gang.
Well, she only
interacted with anyone
with other people.
Right.
She's a little weird, which makes sense since she was raised by a mafia magician who was going to murder her.
Right.
She was locked away. But she's a little awkward.
I thought, well, it was the most, I don't know, she does have because she is kind of weird and a little, she has a different perspective that it workked.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It actually makes a whole lot more sense why she's with Wesley now. Because they're both kind of weird and socially awkward and not really on the same wavelength as everyone else around them.
Yeah, I mean, you can totally buy the relationship just by exactly how awkward she is with the rest of the gang. But I also get that she, even though she's interacted with human beings while she's been locked away, it seems like, to me, this feels like the most real interaction she has with other people. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense that she's a little off.
Mm-hmm. But apparently they have a lot of friends to have that dance party at the end.
Yeah, but isn't like some of the people at the dance party people that were part of that case, like the...
I didn't really pay attention. I think some of them are Gunn's crew.
I thought I caught the son.
The impotent one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's not dancing, he's just sitting...
Well, he's impotent, so...
But, so we had that scene, which I thought was nice. Then we get the weird Wesley being Sherlock Holmes.
Well, I like that as a gag.
Yeah.
That we get the parlor room scene without actually seeing the mystery. I like that gag. Here becomes my issue. That this is supposed to be the episode, really, where Gunn, Cordelia, and Wesley realize that they work well as a team and they can do it without Angel. Then they grow in their confidence. But I'm not connected in any way to that journey because I don't know how they got there. They're just there. And it's 2 episodes in a row where we've gotten the beginning of their story and the end of their story and none of the important middle bits. And instead we had to watch Jean just pathetic life unfold, where I could watch characters that actually grow. And I really do like the Angel and the Host storyline, but I don't feel that Jean doesn't improve their story in any way besides he's the thing they have to stop.
Right. It's interesting because they try and, I applaud them for trying to flesh out a case of the week person more so than they've done in the past.
Yes.
We've had similar complaints in the past about we can't connect with these characters if they're only here for an episode. But yeah,
we just can't connect to Jean because he's pathetic.
Right. And they try and make some parallels with Angel at the end, but
which sort of work.
Yeah, it sort of works.
But I feel like this is such an important episode for those 3 and we don't get it. And the overall feeling I feel about these 3 having their own investigation firm is it just feels so temporary and it doesn't matter because they don't seem to want to commit to this story at all.
Right. And I would agree with you, especially, we'll get to the Angel stuff, but whenever Angel kind of comes to saying, I just kind of leave them out into the cold. But
Angel seems to come to the realization at the end of the episode that he's going to hire them back or try to.
Or he's gone. Yeah.
So this story seems to be effectively over, in a way.
Kind of.
But he still has to get them back, but it seems like the story is now going to be him trying to get them back and they being confident for reasons that we're not completely sure about because we didn't get to see it.
Right. But what they do really nicely with the gang is they keep that how separated the gang has been. Mm-hmm. Like where Angel has been on one end of the spectrum and the gang was towards the middle, still wanted to be with Angel. Now that Angel's kind of budged towards the middle a little bit, they've gone farther away because they end with the episode with "It's just a name," mm-hmm. which was a really good moment.
See, I don't like that moment because I don't feel any power to it because I don't know why they feel so confident in themselves.
Well, I think
besides the fact that this episode is supposed to be they feel confident in themselves. Like, I don't feel they earned that moment at all.
Well, they got to win. I mean, it would have helped. Yeah, it would have helped to see the case, I guess, or them fighting the demon.
Mm-hmm. Or them solving the mystery or any...
Well, we watched them solve the mystery.
Well, yeah.
Or Wesley.
We see him we see him present it. We don't see him go through the process of doing it.
Right. Although having Gunn say that was so cool was really funny to me.
It was more funny than Cordelia just wanting to eat things. Which just seemed weird and not... They needed to do something with Cordelia.
They didn't necessarily earn the last moment. And so it does take away from the last moment. It's not like this impactful thing at the end of the episode, but I still like the moment. And it still is interesting where it puts the rest of the gang in terms of how they feel about Angel mm-hmm. and how they're finally moving on.
Sure.
And it has nice parallels with the Jean storyline and how Angel relates to Jean and how, I guess, Denise relates to the rest of the gang. But I don't know. I still think it was a good moment. I do wish they could have sold it. I like getting to see the rest of the gang. I like them exploring the rest of the gang. I just wish they would do it more.
Yep. But I feel like that storyline is coming to an end.
I mean, maybe I don't know exactly when they're going to pull the trigger. I think it's safe to assume that the gang and Angel won't always be separated.
No.
Because that would be impossible for a show like this. But the thing that I find interesting is where Angel and the gang are at on that bar of separation, where if Angel starts feeling like he misses them and wants to reconnect, and then they're finally moving on, then there still is that tension that they can mine from it. I do hope that it's sad that they can't focus on the rest of the gang becoming more reliable by themselves.
Look, this is such an important episode in that story where they discover their confidence, and the only time we got a beginning, middle, and end with those three is when they decided they were going to start their own investigation firm in Redefinition. That's it.
Right. And they don't ever show them fighting the demon.
No, never.
We didn't get the fart dragon. We didn't get whatever he pulled the hubcap axe from. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. For some of it's not important. I
think this is very... It's important to show why they have this newfound confidence at the end, besides the fact that they go. And it's just accepted. Like, they set up an interesting thing where they can develop outside of Angel's Shadow and become their own characters, but they don't do it. Like, there's no impact to this story at all. It's just they're separated because Angel fired them, but we're not really going to do anything about them. They're just now confident for some reason, but they haven't really... I don't get the sense that they've changed at all besides the fact that they believe in themselves for some reason.
Well, right, but I don't think... I mean, they were already reliable. Like, they already had positions with Angel there.
Mm-hmm. But now, what are their... So when they go back, I I'm pretty sure they'll just go back to those same positions because I don't know what their new positions are besides the fact that Wesley is the leader now. Wesley seems to be the only one that has developed, and Cordelia and Gunn are now just playing second fiddle to Wesley.
Yeah, I guess. Well, but the thing is, okay.
When they're supposed to each have individual strengths, and they work together and they solve things. But now it just feels like you've just transplanted Wesley for Angel. Because I feel like Wesley's the only one that's getting any kind of growth out of this storyline.
Well, I think that they do moments with the gang, like when they're all sitting at the table together. Mm-hmm. Like they feel more balanced, as even though Wesley might take control of the group or is leading the group, they still feel like each one has an equal share in the group.
I think so in the beginning, but it seems that Wesley is just becoming the leader and doing everything. And
because his Sherlock Holmes monologue.
Well, he's the only one that they're giving stuff to do, important stuff. And the other, I like how it starts off where they're all doing something and Cordelia's trying to pep them up, and they're all down and they all are sitting behind that desk, and they only have the one desk. But then by the end, it's just, well, Wesley's in charge because he is, and Cordelia and Gunn are going to make some jokes.
But even how they interact with that last guy.
Wesley takes control, though.
Even though Wesley takes control, the rest of the gang still is involved, is still asking the guy, no, stay. Why don't we go in back? All three of them do interact with the client. Even though Wesley ends up being the focal point of it, they're still involved with the process. I think they're more involved with the cases and with the client than they were whenever they were with Angel. Now, I'm agreeing with you that they didn't show the process of, if we had seen their case, how each person was more involved than they have been. Mm-hmm. But I still think it is an interesting dynamic that they're developing with them. And I do hope that they still spend some time with them, or still spend some time showing the new dynamics with the new gang. I agree that it was important to see them do well on their own and how they got there. But to me, all it seemed like was they got their first win. Like, Virginia gave them this case.
Well, I think their first win was in redefinition when they were able. See, that's when it worked, because they were all three of them struggled and they managed to do it. They killed that demon in redefinition, and now it's just Wesley and Gunn go fight something, and then Wesley's the leader, and Cordelia's done almost nothing besides have a vision.
She ate crackers or whatever the heck those things were.
That's all. She's eaten crackers and gotten a vision, which is just really sad, since of the three of them, she was the one that had gotten the most development before, and now she's just devolved into just comedy relief.
Right. Well, I don't think that... I mean, we've seen Wesley kind of step into the leadership role, but they really haven't... We've gotten more from them, but they haven't changed enough.
They haven't changed at all.
Right. So I don't think I don't think it's so much about them necessarily like changing roles or doing anything like that. It's just that, like, the important thing that we got from the gang here was that they grew in confidence because they.
But that should be them changing roles because they don't need Angel. But I don't know why they don't need Angel. Besides, the episode tells me that they don't need Angel, and it's just a name. Like, the only person that I think earns that they don't need Angel is Wesley, because Wesley's the only one they've given stuff to do. Gunn and Cordelia have done almost nothing besides what they were doing with Angel. Right. I don't know how much more... Well, if the episode was really about them, then I would feel differently. But it's not. Right. They're, again, the third story, and Angel's the first story, which makes sense because it's a show. And then Angel and the host are plot A, and then Gene is plot B, and Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn, even though they are the series regular and the second people on the show, the supporting characters, they're storyline B. Storyline C, which is an improvement from being a storyline D, but they're still on the lowest rung on the totem pole.
Right, and I would love to have an episode that is focused on them. I don't know if we'll necessarily get that.
I don't think we will. I think this episode I would enjoy a lot more if it was just Angel and the host. If the host had just barged into the Hyperion and just had a therapy session with Angel, and then the rest of the episode was Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn doing their thing. Because really, what the best thing about the host and Angel is just their conversations, and it has really nothing to do with them trying to stop Jean from stopping time.
Right.
Like Jean, the best scene in the host storyline is Angel's glorious rant in the car, which has nothing to do with Jean besides they're on their way to stop him.
Exactly. Speaking of which, so the Angel host storyline.
It's the best part of this episode.
I mean, it is, and it's what gets the most attention.
Mm-hmm. And it should, because it's the best part. The only thing I don't think works is really the school mascot thing, but then there's just a whole lot of questions about... No one seems to react too much about when the Muppet Demon drives an axe into the library computer and then runs away. And then Angel and the host are just free to walk about campus.
Yeah, okay. A quick question that came to my mind, and it's at about the end of the episode whenever Angel...
the fact that Jean doesn't know that they're demons, but he was singing at a demon bar?
Yeah, exactly.
And the host... Okay, and the other thing is the host passes out, which I would think would... Let's just say there wasn't a whole lot of demons at Caritas when Jean was singing. Let's just give them that.
But the
host is there, and he's like watching him and passes out, and I would think that would make a big commotion that Jean would have to know.
Oh, man. Okay. Anyways, we're going back to the Angel storyline, but it makes zero sense. Of course, he has to know that there's demons if he went to a demon karaoke bar. Mm-hmm. That must have just flown right under the script, whatever. No, they spend the most time focusing on this storyline and this interaction, which... It was really nice to get a lot of the host. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the most we've gotten from him, and him developing his character and seeing how he interacts, I thought was really entertaining. And just the fact that he's so different from Angel that it just...
Well, I love
that... dark and brooding.
Yeah. Well, I love that he's able to get Angel to open up because he's really good at being the host. That he's... your friend, but you also really don't know him too well. So Angel's able to open up and rant to him the way he wouldn't be with some, and Angel seems to be likes him, but also seems to be pretty annoyed by him. And he's able to treat him that way because he doesn't really have any history with him. Like, the host is able to get the brunt of Angel's grumpy attitude because Angel doesn't really care about him because he's more of an acquaintance than a friend. Right.
And he's pushing all of Angel's buttons. Mm-hmm. He's asking him questions directly about things that he doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because he just wants to be in his brooding, dark depression.
Yeah. This is probably the first episode that where it really clicked to me that Angel probably is suffering from some kind of clinical depression. Just the way he lashes out at people and just the way that he wants to be left alone. That's just probably what he's going through. Well, I'm pretty sure that Angel suffers from clinical depression all the time. But he's having a bad fit.
150 years. Yeah, right.
He's having a especially bad moment in his illness because the way he just lashes out at everyone around him, and it's just, he's really petty all the time. And it's just to hurt people. And I really do, the rant in the car is just amazing. And this is the best part of the episode, and I love how it's the most that Angel's probably said in a long time, and it fits with every bit of his actions.
Right. It's the boiling over point. Mm-hmm. Like he's been holding everything in so tight and so compressed, and I love how he's able to get that out of him.
Who gets it out of him?
I love how the host is able to get that out of him. Because he's just, like, the host is really good at getting people to talk about their feelings because this is what he does. He's the demon karaoke bar that's also kind of pseudo-psychiatrist. And so it felt really natural, and to have Angel kind of express that much emotion and feeling was really effective because of how dark and depressing he has been. And
I do think he makes a really good point about the fact that Wolfram and Hart are highly intelligent people, and everyone just their one job is to just screw with them, and everyone acts like Angel should be above it.
And they wonder why it's working.
Yeah. Because they've done a very good job with screwing with him. And the whole, like, every time Cordelia and Wesley are like, you shouldn't be acting this way. And just what I like about the story so far is Angel knows he's in the wrong, but he just is at the point where he's been messed with so much that he's just grown an apathy to caring. Or just growing right. He's just apathetic about it. He's completely self-aware the whole time. Like, it's not like he's completely taken over by his broodiness. It's just he knows the way he shouldn't be acting this way. But taking down Wolfram and Hart are more important to him than knowing that he's in the wrong.
Right, and he even spells out, he has the screw-it-all mentality, but he spells out his plan. Like, he wants to kill Darla and Drusilla, and then he wants to burn Wolfram and Hart to the ground. Mm-hmm. And to better explain why he fired the gang, even though, I mean, we suspected that's why. Right.
But to get it laid out that he fired them because they're too human and they can't deal with it, and he's happy that they don't have to be with him. It doesn't mean he doesn't care. It's that he cares too much about them to have them go through this. Or that they can't understand where he is.
And I guess he's doing the wrong thing and trying to do the right thing by doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, by separating the gang from him.
Yeah.
He's trying to save them from that darkness or whatever.
And it doesn't, well, the best solution probably would have been if Angel sat down and explained to him his plan, which he never did.
Right, but the thing is, I think they would still have followed him.
Yeah, if he had explained it, I think they would have gone along with it. But the other thing is that Angel wouldn't have explained it because he's not that type of person yet.
Right, he would never have shared his feelings like this like blow up in the car. He never would have shared that with the rest of the game.
No, because I think he felt ashamed of feeling this way. So that's why he never opened up to them.
And he likes to keep up this appearance.
Yes.
Like, he likes the way the rest of the gang interacts with him.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if he would have sat down and explained it to them, they would have gone with him. And I'm sure he knows that at some point they would have convinced him not to go through with it.
Yes.
Because he recognizes that he cares about them and cares what they think and what they say.
Pretty much. And he says that when they fire him, when he fires them, I mean, when Wesley says that they're the only thing standing between him and real darkness, and he says, I know, that's why you're fired.
Right.
So the host just works with Angel because he's the host.
Right, and there's just such a great contrast between the two of them.
And yeah, because it's just the host being the host and Angel being Angel.
Which is so strange, having the host in the daytime real world. Mm-hmm. It's such a weird time frame to see Angel walking around because it feels like a completely different LA.
Yes.
And so I'm always, it feels a little strange to me.
Yeah, the only thing that's weird, that's off about the storyline is that they have to find a way to explain how the host is able to walk around and nobody is staring at them. Because I don't really have a problem when they go to the karaoke bar, because it seems that the bartender it seems that downtown LA knows about demons. That's just an accepted fact. But when they're at, I don't know, is it UCLA or unknown university that is probably UCLA or somewhere?
Yeah, it's unknown. It's some college. I don't think they give it a name, but their mascot's the Buccaneers.
Yeah. So,
which that was a good moment.
But so it's awkward that they have the demon. They have the host walking around, and he's so obviously not human. But I'm all right with it because if you don't, at least they try to explain it. Because if you always have them at nighttime and the host can only be in a certain situation, it limits the kind of stories that you can do. Right,
and I would have been annoyed if everyone had the reaction to Lorne that the carpet mold guy did. Mm-hmm. Like if they had to stop every 5 seconds because people were going, "What is that?"
Well, he does a pretty good job of hiding ish. He stays in that bookshelf with the book in front of his face.
Which you wouldn't see the green person? No?
His horns are still visible, but whatever. He is in LA. There's weird people.
Right, exactly. I'm okay
with it.
I like seeing the host. If I have to have, weird questions going through my head, that's fine. If I actually get to see the host more. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the most we've gotten from him, and I really did enjoy their weird buddy cop adventure.
Yeah, their odd couple. And I really do like that Angel doesn't really seem to care about stopping the world. He's just going through the motions, because I get the sense that it's probably, he feels it's the best way to get the host out of
away from him? Yeah.
Just to deal with this, and then I can go back to sleeping.
Or not sleeping.
Yeah. All right. So do you want to move on to feedback, which there is a lot of?
Sure thing.
So in feedback, we actually got to order it into most positive to most negative again, which was exciting for me, but because I'm weird like that. But anyway, first up we have Robin, who said, "There was a lot to like here. Jean's story was interesting, and it always stands out when a character of the week gets fleshed out like this. Though I don't buy that Denise would have thought sleeping with him and dumping him immediately afterwards was the right thing to do. I don't think it would have changed the episode for her to announce that she was going to dump him a week after their anniversary. The addition of the host to the ensemble has been a great success. It was good writing to have Angel open up to him, as allowed him to address his issues while also making us care more about the host. The final moment struck me as having a double meaning. On first watch, Wesley's claim that Angel Investigations is just a name seems to deepen the alienation between the trio and Angel himself. But in a way it shows Angel really can atone. He told the host that there's no way he can make up for his centuries of evil, so by touching the lives of Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn, he has recruited a team of angels to help him atone. So thank you, Robin. Who likes the Jean storyline.
Right.
Which is interesting. I'm not sure I have a comment about that.
I mean, people are entitled to their opinion.
I feel like retirement has softened him.
Do you think? Maybe it's whenever you don't have to. Well, I remember being on the flip side with Buffy and being really.
Well, yeah, you were Mr. Positive.
Right. I loved everything. I've come down. It's when you're behind the mic. That's what happens.
Just turn into cold-hearted, hate everyone and everything.
I don't know what it is, but it's just seeing things in a more critical eye. But not that I think Robin always has his eye kind of focused on that. But I mean, we watch TV to be entertained and to enjoy ourselves. So I don't fault anyone for ever feeling a certain way about anything.
I just wasn't entertained by Gene. But I recognize that it's well written and well structured. I just don't care about him.
Right. But
I'm
the thing that
bored of him.
I think what Robin says is, they actually tried to flesh him out, and they actually.
Well, they did. They did such a good job of doing it that I completely believed how awkward and terribly boring he was, and I didn't want to watch him anymore. He just made me sad, really.
Denise, they had a year together. That's a year of painfully awkward questions.
I don't think it was that awkward. I think that's just a very... They're in grad school, so you just stay with people for a year. And you really probably wouldn't. It's just inertia at a certain point.
Yeah, dumping him after the whole sympathy bone thing.
Well, not Megan Mullally. It's just a weird person.
Right.
I couldn't get a beat on her. And then she's like, "Oh, you're gonna sympathy bone," which just seems like a weird jump to make. I'm not sure why that was on not Megan Mullally's mind. But she brings up the sympathy bone, and then he's like, "I guess that's all I can do." It's not like I could break up with him after our anniversary, after the sympathy bone. There is no other option open to me but this.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems bad. But I don't know, even if she would have said, yeah, I'll talk to him later, like the moment of Denise saying, hey, we need to talk, like it could still feel natural.
Yeah, well, why would you not break up with someone after that? She doesn't know that time stopped, but that was just horrible dinner.
Would she have not seen the weird bubble thing, like enveloping them?
I'm assuming that the weird bubble thing is just a show, this show showing us the time stopping. I'm not sure if they can see the weird bubble thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if the weird...
It's supposed to be a special effect.
I think it's supposed to be a visual representation of time stopping.
Okay.
Because I don't think there's an actual bubble that goes over them.
I'm just really disturbed by him having sex and pushing buttons.
I don't want to talk about it.
Turn on the machine. No. Ugh.
I just find it weird that there's all those mirrors around and she doesn't think that's suspicious.
Right? No, it's so disturbing. I hate that moment. I hate it.
What do you think of Angel being just a word? A name?
I mean, the first meaning...
I didn't get it. I definitely got the first meaning. I didn't get the double meaning, but I think it exists.
Yeah, I think Robin has an interesting point here, that their mission is also Angel's mission of atonement, like that they're helping Angel to atone,
or they've been inspired by Angel's mission to atone. Like they haven't.
Right.
The fact that they don't change the name, which they could. But they don't. Like there's a meaning behind what Angel is doing, and they're just carrying it on, which suggests that there's something special about it, besides the Angel of it all.
I mean, there is something noble about their helping the helpless. Basically, I mean, I got a lot out of the final moment. I think having Angel and the rest of the gang and how Robin says the deepening alienation between the two of them, the two groups. Mm-hmm. I think that adds an interesting tension to the gang, even though they're not interacting yet. Like the only interaction we've seen since the firing was Wesley saying, "Hey, we're going to continue on with or without you." And to see the rest of the gang kind of starting to move on is kind of sad, especially with Angel finally going, crap, I think I messed up. Like, he hasn't necessarily said that enough. He just has said, yeah, I did kind of leave them in the cold.
Yeah.
But eventually he'll come around, and then seeing how they're going to interact after that is going to be really interesting.
Yeah. If they deliver on it, which... To me, they haven't delivered on the promise of the storyline yet.
There's still miles to go.
Sure. All
right, next up we have Joseph, and he says, the A-plot is exactly what I would have liked to see in Season 1. Somebody who needs Angel's help in a case of the week, with some themes of loneliness and finding her path, and some tangential relevance to Angel's life. This would have been a solid Buffy episode, and I liked it on Angel as well. Also, the fight as the time wave approached was a cool effect. Man, Andy Hallett is great as the host. Is it true that Joss discovered him? I'm loving the gang, from Wes's Agatha Christie mystery to Gunn's complimenting him to the dance party. I almost wish we had a spin-off set around only Whedon side characters. For example, Oz, Amy, and Percy move to New York and need to make it in the big city. So, thank you, Joseph.
According to IMDb, yes, the Joss discovered Idiot, but that's as far as I could find. And I'll be honest, I didn't do a extensive Google search. That he saw him at a university concert or something. And that he came up with the idea for the host and just casted him as the host, which I believe, because it seems that he seems to inhabit the role in a way that it was created for him.
Yeah, it seems very like a Joss thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think about how they found David Boreanaz.
Because he just looks so pretty.
Because he looks so pretty, like walking his dog or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, stuff like that happens, I guess. I think it is a great character. I think they lucked out with David Boreanaz, because originally Buffy really just requires him to be Buffy's boyfriend and to look real pretty. Right.
The fact that he can actually do more than be real pretty. It's just good for him, because he wouldn't get his own show.
Right.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about in Justice comment? Or?
Right. I mean, I would have loved to... I like the gang. I like seeing them interact. I want more of it.
It's not that I don't like what we get. I just don't feel that they have any real confidence in this story, because they don't show it. It exists, but they won't really focus on it. Because I want more, and I like what I get, but I don't get enough, and then I just don't feel good about the whole storyline in general.
Right. I mean, it's a weird balancing issue. It is Angel's show. They want to focus on Angel, but I would love to have, at least one episode where... I mean, we've had previous episode where Angel was like the C storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even asking that. I just would like to see the gang interact more. Like, we're getting nice snapshots. I just would love to see how they're developing in between.
If this episode, Jean is so blah to me that I like how they did it, and I'd like if they approached all Case of the Week characters like they approached Jean. But the fact that Jean is so boring and I don't care, I'd rather this just be an episode where they're solving the mystery and the B plot or A plot or whatever is just the host. What if Jean doesn't even really exist and it's just something that the host made up to get Angel to open up? That's just
right.
Because there's nothing. They don't know anything about Jean until the final scene. They have no idea what's going on with him. They think that he's actually working with the demons. So the best moment with the rant in the car really has nothing. Jean doesn't facilitate that moment at all.
Right.
There's a tangential connection that they're both loneliness, that they suck at love. But Jean doesn't affect Angel's storyline and the best part of the Angel and the Host storyline by existing. Because they don't know about him, really.
Even them interacting at the end of the episode doesn't add to the story.
It adds a little bit.
I mean, but it connects the themes, but it doesn't affect...
No. Angel can come to that conclusion that he did kind of abandon them on his own. He doesn't need Jean. Jean doesn't seem to really affect that realization for him. He kind of does, but he can still come to that on his own in some different way.
The only other thing that I like is that it is Angel helping someone that, helping a human. It's the host was able to make Angel interact with another human being and take a step back from his personal vendetta.
He doesn't do a great job of it.
I mean, yeah. But when has he ever, if they're not pretty blondes?
He doesn't do a good job with pretty blondes either. All right. Next up, we have Kanan, who said, I feel like challenging myself this week. So let's see if I come up with 3 positive things to say about Happy Anniversary. 1. The host's speech about the next note and the tag scene with Wes, Cordelia, and Gunn are lovely moments about the power of change and moving on. 2. Taken in a vacuum, I really love the drawing room scene. Great hominy, but I can't help but wonder what they're going to do with the doting aunt. I still think the sister did it. Let's see, a third. It's so hard to look past this mess and a disturbingly haunting image of Jean's amazingly icky and well-coordinated frozen moment. Okay, I better shake it off before I give this episode a 14. 3. This episode reminded me of some of the other shows I enjoyed. The whole plot was like something from season 1 of The X-Files. And then there was the whose line is it anyway moment. You know, where Clive or Drew says it's time for theater and film styles. The scene, 2 college girls discuss dumping a boyfriend starting in the style of amateur dramatics. God, I love that line. Anyway, so still, it was nice to see the host take center stage. Okay, I'm done. Let me never speak of this again. And he gave it a 60 out of 100. Which his description of not Megan Mullally and Denise's conversation is exactly that. That I don't feel that these, especially not Megan Mullally, I don't feel that she's ever spoken words before in her life, before that scene. I feel like it's kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, and then it's also like she's on SNL and she's reading off cue cards behind Denise's back.
Oh, okay, it's not. It's bad, but it's not.
No, it's not that bad. It's pretty bad. It's just it goes on so terribly long. And the other thing is, I don't know how they don't see Gene's Jufro over the top of that little bar thing, because he is there for a long time, and it's not that secluded.
Yeah, whatever. That's unimportant to me. It's just an awkward moment. A lot of. Man, every Gene scene is really awkward.
It just bums me out.
Yeah.
Like, his whole storyline is just really sad. And
he's an energy sucker, and he's energy sucking the audience.
He just is so pathetic that it just sucks any kind of enjoyment that you could possibly. Like, it's not sad where I feel sympathetic for him. I kind of hate him that he makes me feel this way.
Also, well-coordinated gross freeze moments.
Yes, okay. All right. We can move on. We're just not going to talk about that moment because I don't want to.
No, okay, but I did really love the next note scene with the host.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a nice metaphor, and it helps sell the last moment, even though we didn't see the gang.
Does it? I don't think it sells for me that Angel he's talking to Angel as well as Gene about letting things go and moving on. Because Angel seems to hold a lot of resentment for the fact that Darla died. Right.
And he's talking to Angel, but it has some nice implications with the rest of the gang that they're finally moving on without Angel.
Okay.
So, anyways, next up we have Alicia, and she says, "The good. Gunn saying, I'm so glad I met you guys. It's entertaining, really. Favorite scenes. The host singing the Star Spangled Banner. The host and Angel talking about the host driving Angel's car. The host throwing a yearbook at Angel by mistake and then saying sorry. The joke that the host is the new school mascot. Your heart's not in it. I don't have a pulse, so technically I don't have a heart. Put a stake through it. You got nothing. The host's high-pitched girl scream that makes the white old guy demons cover their ears and kicking them in the balls and hitting them and looking pleased is my favorite scene this whole episode, maybe. Other. Was Angel dreaming about getting comfy in bed and being awake, or had Angel not fallen asleep yet? Lauren is a better singer than Lindsay. Sorry, Derek.
I mean, she's free to be wrong. And keep going.
The old guys with the huge eye sockets, don't like them, but I liked the subtitles. They were in blue with a pink background. I didn't like Gene. So is that the guy at the end going to be the case of the week next week? Thank you, Alicia.
The host singing and then punching people is not only maybe my favorite moment in the episode, but it might be my favorite moment of the series.
I just like how they zoomed up to him kicking the demon in the balls.
Well, it's just what works about it is he just doesn't seem like the type of character to actually punch somebody or that would get easily beaten up. So he uses his singing to like bust their eardrums, then kicks them in the balls, and then looks really happy about it. He looks up, presumably at the angel for like some kind of approval.
It added to the whole their wacky.
Well, it just adds to him as a character that it's just a wonderful character moment of punching somebody that tells us so much about him as a person, as well as being a comedy moment.
Yeah. I like him singing the Star Spangled Banner.
Just the acoustics of the lobby.
And saying Angel's just so pissed off.
Was Angel actually? I think Angel was getting ready to go to sleep, or did the host wake him up? Because it's one or the other. That the host has just disturbed his slumber.
They do a weird job editing. I think it's supposed to be that he had trouble falling asleep, then didn't really sleep, and then wakes up. But time does change, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm not 100% sure.
No, it doesn't. It's weirdly edited. Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about from her comment?
I don't think that the guy at the end is going to be the case.
He's pretty bland. And, they couldn't do a bland guy. Just look at Gene, but he seems so bland that he's not. That it's just going to be some guy that they helped.
Right, and they don't really say anything about his case.
No, if they had said something about his case, maybe, and it was like a dramatic moment, but I don't think so.
Right. All right, and next up we have a voicemail from Megs.
I'm a little behind on my rewatch comments here, so I just wanted to comment a little bit on some past episodes that we've already talked about. I always wonder when Lindsay is talking about Darla's illness and saying that they were 400 years and a month too late to save her. I'm wondering about the timeline on that, because are we supposed to believe that it was less than a month that since Wolfram and Hart brought her back and she was told about her illness? Because if that's the case, then they probably couldn't have done anything. But if she's been around for a few months and they're a month and 400 years too late, then that means that Wolfram and Hart could have saved her. And so I guess those lawyers deserved what they got in that wine cellar. Another thing I wanted to briefly comment on is the whole, why is Wesley the natural choice for a leader? And I think the simple answer is that he's a white dude. And as much as I hate to say it, that's probably why it seems like it makes sense for him to be the leader. Because honestly, he's the least qualified, because as basically office administrator, Cordelia's had a lot of practice talking to clients and all that kind of stuff. And Cordelia is more business-minded, bossy, into the money sides of things and all that. And Gunn obviously runs a gang, so he's got experience on that end. And Wesley was a watcher, which basically means he was somebody else's lapdog, lackey for who knows how long. So I don't know why he's qualified at all, except for the fact that he's a dude and he's white. So that's my theory behind that. Anyway, I'm really enjoying all the commentary about the three angels, Hoodie Angel, Angelus, and Angel. So I hope that we get some more insight on that in some upcoming episodes.
So thank you, Megs.
No. So I think the fact that Wesley becomes leader on the show, the fact that the show decides that Wesley becomes leader, I do think it has everything to do with him being a white dude. But I also think that Wesley steps up because he thinks he should. Like, it makes sense to me that Wesley steps up, but I think the fact that the show decides that he's the leader now has everything to do with him being a white dude. That's just my opinion, though.
And Meg's opinion.
And Meg's opinion. Do you not agree?
I don't necessarily agree. I mean, I hate viewing it under that light, and it can definitely be seen under that light. I don't think that he is necessarily not qualified.
I think of the three, I do think he's the least qualified. I think Gunn is most definitely the most qualified because he has the most leadership experience.
I think Gunn is the most qualified. I will say that. I think it is more interesting as a story to see Wesley step up in that kind of role because we've seen him be the bumbling idiot, and to see him kind of take charge. Like the moments that we've seen him be serious have been impactful because he's been comedic relief. So I find it more interesting that he kind of naturally tries to fill Angel's shoes, and for him to act serious impacts me more. That being said, I think I would have gotten equally. I think it would have been equally as interesting to see Cordelia running the group, and I think it is hurting the other two.
Yes,
like not seeing Cordelia do enough, and not seeing Gunn do
doing nothing.
Right.
She's done almost nothing the whole season. Besides the one... I mean, Gunn and Cordelia have done almost nothing the whole season, besides the backup. The one episode they got to do something is when they had their own episode, but besides that, they're just in the background, and who cares about them? I'm not saying I don't care, I'm just saying the show doesn't seem to care about them.
Right.
I think... I don't find it uninteresting. I think Wesley being a leader is the least interesting of the three. But I don't think it's terrible. Like, I'm not completely out of the story because Wesley's in the lead. But I do think that I think the show gave him that job because he's a white dude, and that makes the most quote-unquote sense that the white dude has to lead them. Because I think Gunn is by far the most qualified. And I'm not sure. Cordelia doesn't seem to have, at this moment, a lot of... I think if Cordelia and Wesley had stepped up, I think that's at the same realm of believability. And I think it would be in the same realm of impactfulness to see one of them take the leadership role.
Right.
Because I think they're both at the same level. I think Gunn, if we're going on experience, I think it should be Gunn.
Right.
But I also understand that Gunn is I really think it should be Gunn, but I think also from the show that Gunn is the character we know the least about, so I could understand why they didn't go with that. I think it would be better if they went with Cordelia.
I think it would have been interesting in either case for me.
I think if any of them did it, we'd learn more, because the leader, Wesley seems to be the one that's getting development, as I said.
Exactly. It's whoever would have stepped up would have gotten the most development.
Mm-hmm. So now it's Wesley getting the most development, which, whatever.
Also, it was interesting, they had the comment in this episode where the host said, and the British guy, he's going to play a huge importance, and then cuts off.
Yeah. So there's something going on.
There might be something down the line.
Yes.
I think that makes things a little more interesting. I don't think Wesley's not necessarily qualified. Like, being a watcher, I mean, we saw on Buffy that he was kind of...
Well, a watcher is kind of a leader.
Right.
He bosses around a teenage girl, but he's a leader.
Right. We've seen Giles be, in Buffy, the leader.
Well, yeah, Giles is the daddy of the group.
Right. Before Buffy kind of takes control. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's not necessarily not qualified.
I think of the three... Well, I don't know. I think Cordelia and... Because Cordelia is apparently in charge of the office, but they haven't really shown that. She's definitely in charge of the finances. Right. But I think her and she does seem to have more people skills than Wesley. But I think they've shown Wesley and Cordelia interacting with clients as an equal amount. I think they're both at an equal amount of leadership. Like, it makes sense to me that Wesley steps up because he thinks he is. And then I'm fine with him. I'm fine with him being the leader if they had given the other two something to do, but they haven't yet.
Right. So do you think Wolfram and Hart could have done anything about Darla's sickness?
Well, I think I'm not sure if it's exactly a month, but it seems to be pretty close because most of the episodes in the beginning of the season seem to pick up where the other one left off.
Right.
And I think there's a couple weeks in between where there's like we don't know where she is, and it seems that there's probably like a month between season 1 and season 2, and then maybe like another month between they find Darla and Darla dies. I don't think, even if they had a couple months, I don't see how she would have lived.
Yeah, I mean...
Because she's dying of the syphilis.
Right.
Like, I don't know a whole lot about the syphilis. But I think they just seem to... And I think Wolf and Hart are culpable in her death anyway, because they brought her back to begin with, and I think they knew when they bring her back that she's not going to be... that they're going to bring her back and she's still going to be ill.
Yeah, I think I fully believe that Holland had this grand
No, I think
plan.
Holland knew from the beginning that when we bring her back, she's going to be dying the same way she was when she was a human.
Yeah, the whole plan was to try and get Angel wrapped, to turn darker, to have to turn her or not, and if he doesn't turn her, then we turn her, and it still gets him dark. So, I mean, I think this was the whole plan to begin with. I don't think Lindsay was in the...
No, I don't think... Lindsay had no idea. Because right. Lindsay really wants to save her because he's creepily in love with her. But I know, I don't believe that Lindsay knew.
Right.
Okay. So next up in feedback, we have Chris Hart, who's catching up with the podcast. And I cut some of these down, but there's still more to go, so we're just going to take it. Because if we did all of them, I think we would do another hour. So we're just going to take 3 this week, and then 3 next week, and then who knows when she'll have catched up and how much more we'll have. So we could be talking Chris Hart's comments for weeks to come. But let's just take them one at a time. Actually, we'll take the first one, and then we'll take the next 2. We'll talk about the first one, and then we'll take the next 2.
Okay.
And talk about them. So first up, she wrote in about I Will Remember You and said, okay, this is my all-time favorite episode of the Wyndam-Pryce. It's memorable. It's beyond fantastic. This is the #1 episode that I will watch without fail when I need a Buffy fix. And yet it's on Angel. When Buffy first aired, everyone knew not to call me on those nights. There was silence for an hour in my household. Then that turned into 2 hours once Angel started airing straight after Buffy. When this episode aired, for 2 hours afterwards, my phone did not stop ringing. My nearest and dearest knew that this was the pinnacle of all time, no jokes. As a massive Buffy and Angel fan, this was for me. Sarah Michelle Gellar is so beautiful. The kiss in the sunlight gives me goosebumps. Is it dramatic? Yes. Is it over the top? Hell yes. Do I care? Nope. The effect that they wanted to achieve was delivered, and I felt it, and I was jumping up and down with happiness. The scene in the bedroom was beyond lovely. It's perfect. To see them both happy and carefree is what I have waited for, especially Angel. Favorite moment. From the moment Angel comes down the stairs to the moments Buffy says she'll never forget in his arms. The whole scene has me in tears. I'm an absolute mess. My heart is breaking and I feel every tear. Oh, and the music theme is Close Your Eyes by Christopher Beck. So thank you, Chris Hart. So it's interesting talking about Buffy, that episode now.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think
it's telling that when she needs a Buffy fix, she goes to that episode because I still feel at that time the show didn't know what kind of show it was. And
right.
It does feel like a Buffy episode.
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting. It was interesting viewing that episode on an Angel rewatch to try and get it from Angel's perspective. And I think it didn't necessarily I think you get more out of it if you view it as a Buffy episode.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the best moment to me is when she talks about being a normal girl, and that has everything to do with Buffy and nothing to do with Angel. Right, but you do get a different perspective and a different kind of enjoyment from it, viewing it through Angel's eyes. It's the most that you get why Angel is in love with her. Right. Because on Buffy, I feel that it's very much about how she feels about Angel, and they never really focus about how Angel feels about her, besides the fact that he loves her because he loves her. Like, you don't know why he loves her. In this episode, you can understand why.
Right. And it does such a great job of, giving all the hope, the happiness, only to rip it away from you.
Yep.
And I really do love the musical theme. Like, Christoph Beck did all the themes for a couple of the first seasons of Buffy, and he's just very, very good. It's perfect and sad.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Well, it's Christoph Beck now that he won. I believe before he was Christopher Beck, but now that he won an Emmy, Joss said that he changed his name to Christoph.
Okay.
All right.
So next up, she had comments on First Hero.
Yeah.
She said,
you take that one, I'll take Expecting, and we'll just talk about it together because they're kind of related.
Okay. I enjoyed this. I definitely found it pulled at the heartstrings, very similar to the previous episode where it comes full circle, starting with the commercial and ending with the commercial, like how in I Will Remember You had the clocks and time throughout the episode. This one has hero and sacrifice throughout. Just a note on the bomb, they state, it's only things that have human blood running through their veins that will die. This is why Angel doesn't die in the room with the captain's second. It's sad to say goodbye to Doyle. He was lovable and enjoyable character. I shed a tear. From the biography of Joss Whedon, Geek King of the Universe, one way the producers shook up the series' initial status quo was when they decided that the major character Doyle would be killed off in the 9th episode. Joss had always wanted to kill off a major character early in the series. That's why he introduced Xander and Willow's friend Jesse in the first episode of Buffy, only to turn him into the vampire and stake him in the second. But here they had another motive. Quinn had a substance abuse problem, which was starting to disrupt production. The producers spoke with him about it, informing him that if he didn't get it under control, he would be fired. Quinn was terrific but trouble, and we had to let him go. Greenwald says it was a really sad turn of events. They hoped that the firing would force the actor to find help for his addiction, but sadly, he would die from an accidental heroin overdose in December 2002.
And then she said on Expecting. Not much more to say about this. However, I do want to give my thoughts on Wesley, though. I enjoyed his character on Buffy, and some of my favorite interactions were between him and Giles. When he appeared on Angel, I was super-duper happy. I like how contrasting he is compared to Doyle. By not casting another Doyle-like character, they have moved Cordelia up to be that confidant to Angel. Thus, by now making Wesley what Cordelia was in the first 9 episodes, comic relief. If a character had entered as someone as Angel could confide in and being close to, Wesley or even someone who he had never seen before, it would have felt cheap and contrived and just like they were replacing Doyle. However, now that Cordelia has taken the spot, it was done flawlessly. It was introduced nicely as they were grieving, so naturally it would make them closer. Angel staying Cordelia as family flows with this, it seems legit. So as the series started off with Angel and Doyle as a team, with Cordelia becomes a part of them. The roles have been changed to where it's now Cordelia and Angel, and Wesley becomes part of their team, not a replacement of Doyle. So I wanted to thank you. I wanted to take those two since they're about Doyle and Wesley. And I did cut out, she had a story about how she had a cat that died and she named it Wesley after Wesley, and that was sad, and I don't want to talk about it. So that's why I cut it out.
You can go read that at the Angel Rewatch.
Yes, I think it's on the Expected post, maybe, somewhere. It's somewhere. I just keep clicking. So, talking about Doyle now.
Yeah, it's really interesting being really removed now. Like, now that we're a full season behind.
Yeah, Doyle died a season ago. Oh, more than a season ago, actually, since we're in, episode 13.
Right.
He died in episode 9. It is, I don't know if it's nice, but it's good to get confirmation that his substance, because we were wondering about that, if his substance abuse problems, the actor, had anything to do with Doyle being fired or killed off, which it seems it did.
Right. I still wonder if him being killed off would have been a future storyline.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't doubt it. It seems to work pretty well that it could just be that they make it work, but it does seem to work pretty well that he dies because accepting his demon self and sacrificing for other people like him.
Right.
Obviously I wouldn't put it past them to kill him off in that way. A ways down the line.
Right. That it seemed like that we hadn't even developed Doyle enough to get a full connection with him.
I think it worked. I do think killing him off, the show only improved after that because it gave Cordelia something really to do.
Right. Like her stepping up into that void.
Yeah. Giving her...
really worked.
Because I really can't imagine the show without Cordelia having the visions.
Right. Or even her being Angel's kind of confidant.
Yeah.
Now. Like the person that he can actually reluctantly open up to.
Mm-hmm. Well, he hasn't in a while because...
I know, because they've separated. So it's sad, too, because that's the role that Cordelia was, like, fitting into. And then since Angel has fired the gang... I mean, even before that, she was pushed way to the wayside.
Well, no, she wasn't. Before... It started in season 2. They start to push... Intentionally, they start to push Wesley and Cordelia to the side because that's where Angel's headspace is.
Right.
And now they haven't decided anything else to do with her. Or Gunn. But...
Right. Like, we had the nice... Or we had the episode that focused on Gunn and Cordelia, and that was nice to help with their characters. I think it has hurt the characters just by nature of the story.
But they're not even, like, really keeping up with that. Because I feel like they've kind of just... all three of them are just happy with each other equally.
Right.
Where I feel like before Gunn and Wesley were constantly butting heads, and now... And... Gunn and Cordelia had a closer connection, but now they're just all like, we like each other.
Right. Right, yeah. It feels... I don't know. They could have mined more from them coming together. And I hope they still can. Like, it is interesting, like, looking back and how Wesley was just straight comic relief, like, all the pratfalls and everything, to see where he is at now, just a season removed.
Yeah. That is nice to see. That he's... Well, there was... Even in that episode that he's introduced in, he comes to the realization that he kind of sucks at everything. Which suggests that there's room for him to grow. But he was still very much the pratfall, I'm a mess, laugh at me and point. Yeah. And he's not anymore.
Right, but I mean, it's still part of his character. Like, we still got the...
Oh, yeah, he can still be funny, but I don't think... He doesn't fall on his face nearly as much as he used to.
Right. All right, so are you ready for favorite moment and scores?
Mm-hmm. So, for my favorite moment, I did go with Angel ranting in the car. And we already talked about it, so I don't really feel I need to talk about it more, because this podcast has gone on long enough. But just the reasons that I said that it works so well in getting... Well, it confirms what the show's already presented, but to have Angel open up and admit it to himself and to the host just is an important step in him. His redemption arc, or is an important step in the Dark Angel storyline.
The terrible James Cameron show?
No. So stop.
For my favorite moment, I ended up going with the last moment with Angel's Just a Name. I thought it, just for the sake of diversity, I think the other moment is actually probably the best moment. But I did want to comment on this moment. It was my second favorite moment, and it added an interesting position with our gang moving on and us finding out that Angel is kind of taking his first step into maybe going back towards them. And so to see them finally moving on, I found it kind of equally sad, but like it was great to see them finally stepping up and becoming confident.
Okay. So scores. Why don't you go first? I always go first. You should go first.
I know. So I really liked the Angel and host storyline, and I liked the very little bit we got with the gang, but it feels like
I'll just pick a number already.
It feels like the Gene storyline really steps on it. I put 57 out of 100.
Okay, that's what I gave it to, so let's move on. God, don't need to be such a baby about it. Just commit.
No. Just pull the Band-Aid off.
Well, I mean, I like them in an isolated fashion, those Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn. I find them amusing. The problem is it just, overall, I'm finding the storyline frustrating, that they won't commit to actually giving me a story with them. And then, I don't need to talk about Gene, but it was well done, but boring as hell. And then, there's the host and angel thing, which is the host and angel, so.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have been pretty high on the episode if it was just the host and angel and the gang.
If it was my alternate vision of this episode, where it's a host and angel therapy session, and then Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn we actually see them doing that case, then that could easily be in the 70s, maybe even 80s. But it's not.
Yeah, maybe. All right. And if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
Or you can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
Or you can go to the Tumblr, which is angelrewatch.tumblr.com, to see all the reviews archived there and the guests of whatever episode we're watching that week.
We're available on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
You can follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at TheConfortador.
And next time, we'll be reviewing The Thin Dead Line, where Angel teams up with Kate to investigate the rumors of zombie policemen who are out for blood.
I just got chills, and not like good ones, over that episode description.